Hey everyone! Welcome to Update X24H, your go-to channel for the latest news, hottest dramas, breaking stories, and all the buzz from the world of entertainment. We're here to keep you updated, entertained, and always in the loop. Hit that subscribe button and join our growing family, because here at Update X24H, we bring you the news that matters, the drama you love, and the stories you can't miss. Thanks for being part of our community. Let's stay connected, stay updated, and keep the good vibes rolling. This morning, something extraordinary happened. Something that could rewrite everything we thought we knew about Menglong's final moments. Inside a quiet forensic lab in Beijing, a sealed file was opened, and what emerged left even the most experienced investigators in disbelief. The question everyone is asking now is simple, yet terrifying. What really happened to Menglong before that tragic night? Stay with me, because what you're about to hear may change how we remember him forever. The official narrative surrounding Menglong's death once seemed final, neatly wrapped in reports, polished by press statements, and quietly accepted by those who wanted to move on. But the new forensic re-examination has torn that surface apart, exposing the unsettling space between what was told and what truly happened. Inside that gap lies a story written not in ink but in silence. The updated analysis suggests that certain post-mortem changes to his body were not natural, nor accidental. They appear, according to experts, to have been deliberate, calculated acts carried out to obscure the reality of his final hours. What was once described as an unexpected accident now looks disturbingly like the aftermath of an attempt to erase a human being's last testimony. For those who have followed Menglong's journey, this revelation feels personal. He was known for a quiet honesty, a man who avoided scandal and preferred the company of art to fame. The notion that someone might have tampered with his remains after death strikes a deep moral chord. It forces us to ask, when did truth become negotiable? In every sentence of the newly released report, a haunting pattern emerges, a manipulation of evidence, a rewriting of timelines, a careful orchestration designed to preserve appearances rather than honor reality. Investigators describe the findings with restraint, but between their lines one can sense a heavy sorrow, as though they too understand that what they uncovered is not only forensic, it is profoundly human. There is something almost poetic in the way truth resists burial. For months, official statements had drawn a curtain over his story, but science has a quiet patience. It waits, measures, analyses, and finally speaks. The reanalysis does not merely challenge a document. It questions an entire culture of convenience where reputation outweighs conscience. What happened to Menglong now stands as more than a case. It is a mirror reflecting the hidden cost of silence in an industry built on perfection. In exposing the gap between the record and reality, this revelation gives back to him what was taken. His authenticity, his voice, and perhaps a chance for genuine justice to begin. Behind every headline lies a heartbeat, and behind Menglong's tragedy stands a man whose quiet existence once illuminated countless lives. Before the whispers, before the rumors, there was an artist who sought meaning in simplicity. Those who knew him recall a gentle soul, someone who greeted fame with a kind of distance, as if aware that it could both elevate and consume. He lived between two worlds, the dazzling facade of celebrity and the private silence he cherished when the cameras were gone. Friends remember how he would spend hours sketching in dim cafes or taking photographs of strangers on rainy streets, searching for beauty in moments most people overlooked. He often said that art should be honest, even if honesty hurt. Perhaps that belief became the compass that guided him through a world where truth was a dangerous luxury. The new revelations about his final days have made his quiet philosophy echo with new weight. It is painful to imagine that a man who valued integrity above all could have faced betrayal so profound. Yet even now there is something in his story that feels unfinished, as if his voice still lingers between the lines of every report. Those who stood close to him describe a person of rare empathy, someone who never raised his voice even in frustration, who believed that kindness was a strength, not a weakness. His fame, though immense, never hardened him. He seemed untouched by the arrogance that often accompanies success, preferring the company of sincerity over flattery. That humility, once mistaken for fragility, now feels like a form of quiet courage. In remembering Menglong as a human being rather than a headline, we rediscover what fame so often erases, the soul behind the spectacle. His legacy was not written in box office numbers or trending hashtags, but in the subtle impact he left on those who crossed his path. He taught, perhaps unknowingly, that gentleness can coexist with strength and that truth, no matter how fragile, endures longer than power. Now, as the investigation unfolds and the world re-examines the story of his death, the essence of who he was emerges more clearly than ever. A man who sought light, who lived with sincerity, and whose authenticity remains, even when everything else has been taken away. Beneath the surface of Menglong's tragedy lies a network of power, silence, and control that stretches far beyond a single night. The deeper the investigation delves, the clearer it becomes that his death may have been less an isolated event, and more the result of forces long at work, quietly shaping the fate of those who dare to live truthfully in an industry built on illusion. Behind the glamour and the polished smiles, there exists an ecosystem where influence is currency and obedience is often the price of survival. Within that system you stood out, unwilling to trade his integrity for comfort, unwilling to conform when conscience whispered otherwise. It is here, in this fragile defiance, that the shadows began to gather. Those close to the renewed inquiry speak of patterns that cannot be dismissed, financial trails abruptly erased, encrypted communications between industry figures, and meetings that took place under the guise of celebration but concealed more sinister intent. Yet this is not a story of villains and victims. It is a story of how truth becomes inconvenient when it threatens profit and prestige. Menglong's name, once a symbol of quiet artistry, may have unsettled those whose power thrived on secrecy. Perhaps what frightened them most was not what he knew, but who he was, a man unwilling to play by the rules of silence. It is unsettling to imagine how many others have walked this same invisible line between visibility and vulnerability, trapped by contracts, reputations, or fear. The entertainment world often sells dreams, yet within its corridors, the cost of authenticity can be heartbreakingly high. Use passing viewed through this lens becomes a reflection of a wider truth, that beneath success lies a system desperate to control the narrative, even if it means erasing the people who challenge it. Still, the emergence of new evidence marks a turning point. It suggests that silence, no matter how enforced, cannot endure forever. Like cracks spreading through glass, the truth is beginning to show. And perhaps that, more than any official statement, is the real reason this story continues to resonate. The understanding that Menglong's struggle was never his alone, but part of a larger battle between humanity and the unseen forces that seek to bury it. As the story unfolds, fans around the world are no longer asking, "Who did it?" They're asking, "What can we do?" In Seoul, Tokyo, and Los Angeles, candlelight vigils have begun to appear. People are gathering not in anger, but in remembrance. Because Menglong's story isn't only about loss. It's about courage, about the cost of honesty, and about the light that refuses to fade even in the darkest corners. The new forensic findings do more than question an old report. They challenge an entire narrative. They remind us that the entertainment world we admire often hides a reality we rarely see. Pressure, politics, and pain behind perfect smiles. But amid all this, one thing remains clear. Menglong did not vanish in vain. Each discovery, each investigation, each person who dares to speak his name, becomes part of his legacy. Maybe justice doesn't always arrive in a courtroom. Sometimes, justice lives in the voices that refuse to forget. And as long as we keep talking about him, searching for the truth and protecting others from the same fate, his story lives on. If this story moved you, let your voice be part of that light. Hit subscribe, leave a comment, and share your thoughts. Not just for the algorithm, but for remembrance, for humanity, for truth. Thank you for watching Update X24H, where every story is told with heart, respect, and purpose. Stay safe, stay curious, and never stop seeking the truth.